Hi, I'm Ronnie Krass. This is Chapter 13 EMS, including community paramedicine and also the coronavirus. For this week in the textbook, I chose the case of Mitchell versus Norwalk Area Health Services. What this case has to do with is the EMS providers came on scene of a gentleman that was having trouble breathing. When they got there, they tried to defibrillate the patient, and they were unable to. The wife of the patient actually noticed this, that they were having issues, and ultimately the patient died. They were, however, able to defibrillate him at a certain point throughout the run, but not at first get-go. Came the findings that they only had one set of defib pads on their unit when they should have had two. Their policy stated they should have had two, and they only had one. The lady is actually going through litigation still at this time. But basically how this relates to me is the first thing we do when we get on duty in the mornings. We check the unit, we record all the drugs, make sure all the drugs are there. We also record seal numbers, and we make sure everything's there. We have forms that we actually fill out that we have to that records all this information. Ultimately, that will fall back on the provider on that unit that day if it's not done. The recent case I chose is Mary Horton versus Tammany Fire Protection. This case is from 2021, and on this date, the Court of Appeals in Louisiana held that the trial court should not have dismissed the lawsuit for gross negligence, failing to take a child to the right hospital. The child was run over by a car, had tire marks on her abdomen and also on her groin, and they passed one hospital, I guess, and took the child to another hospital, and they faced some issues with that, and the child ultimately passed because of it. The relevancy of this is Hamilton County has a specific protocol where you're supposed to take trauma victims, and depending on what other kind of circumstances are going on, if they have an airway issue, you might have to take them to a close hospital, but it's clearly spelled out in the protocol. I think you have to have that spelled out in your protocol just so you don't run into issues like this. For the current event, I chose dozens of firefighters in Chicago were on a no-pay status for not complying to the vaccine mandate. That's a coronavirus vaccine. That's from February 9th of 2022. And basically, they said that all these firefighters had to get the vaccine or they're going to be placed on the no-pay status. And they had 30 days to comply before they would lose their health insurance as well. And there were some issues with that. But my department never issued a vaccine mandate. And likewise, the state of Ohio never did either. They kind of allowed it up to each individual place or OSHA, depending on how that went. But at my department, it was offered to us, and also the booster shots were offered. Not everybody at my department got the vaccine. Ones that didn't, some of them got sick. We actually had one guy that was completely against the vaccine. He ended up on home oxygen. He was probably one of the best in shape guys that we work with. So it's kind of interesting to see how it affects different people. But like everybody's aware, I think, of the negative effects of tobacco. Yet everybody's able to make their own choice whether they want them or not, and they know the health effects of it. So I think Ohio was in the right state of mind as well by not forcing this on everybody and let them work that out with their healthcare provider on if they need the vaccine or not. That's all. Thanks.